another major winter storm is possible this coming weekend, and it could be even bigger than the one that just passed. I'm going to get into it long ways out, but there's a lot to talk about with that system as well. If you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing to friends. Let's get right into it. So, first we'll start with GOES satellite imagery. Currently, we can see our departing winter storm with this outflow of this one disturbance. It's because we have a really cold upper level trough digging down, digging deep. It's progressing eastward. That's also why this week is going to be really cold. We're not going to make it out of freezing for this week and for any time in the foreseeable future. So this upper level trough will continue moving east and kicking out any remaining moisture, and it will stay over us for the next several days throughout this work week. And again, here's your storm right here. Still probably some lingering precipitation on coastlines, mainly up near Maine, Nova Scotia, and into eastern Canada, but that should all clear out as this upper level low is bringing some very cold and dry air as well. Okay, so anything that melts, because the only melting factor with the snow that's currently on the ground is the sun. Okay, and so the sun can only do so much, and especially with temperatures being in the teens, especially after today will be the warmest day for most areas in the Northeast, and then it just gets colder from there on. The West, since you have an upper level trough coming down in the east, here, let me draw that a little better, something like that, very deep trough, you get a ridge over here in the West. Okay, a pretty tall ridge, spiking ridge through here, likely centered a little more west, and so it stays warm and temperate in the West, while the East just gets a bunch of cold. And here, if we were to take a little pause from satellite imagery, you can see the snow cover. This is a snow cover right here from our past winter storm. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, portions of Alabama, and Louisiana all have that snow cover. And once these higher clouds start to clear out, you'll see that expand into the north and east, northeast, and the mid-Atlantic. So that's that. If we're going to look at the surface, the 500 millibar features a little more clearer. Here's your low pressure right here. That's your departing system. Pretty deep. It's starting to deepen now, 999. But throughout its journey, it was mostly in the thousands. Okay, and that's why we didn't get so strong warm advection. I mean, it was pretty strong, 80 knots at 700 millibars. That's why we went from snow to sleet from the major cities, mainly these DC, Baltimore, Philly, New York City, Boston stayed all snow. But yeah, now it's heading out and it's deepening. It's bringing more impactful snow in the areas of Nova Scotia and likely Newfoundland and Labrador later on. Further to the east, here's your high pressure. Okay, here's your really deep high pressure right here. 1030, not as strong as what we saw over the weekend, but it is still bringing some very cold, dry air. I mean, look at these temperatures. Here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Negative degrees in Kansas, negative 14, negative 12, negative 5, negative 8. And in Texas, we have single digits as well. Dallas, around 14 degrees. Okay, here's St. Louis, negative 5. So this is some very cold air. And this can lead to frostbite and hypothermia within minutes. So it's going to be bad. And wind chills, when you factor in the wind, it's well below zero, possibly up to negative 30 degrees. So it's very cold. This is all coming eastward, okay? It's still cold, even in the east, without this extremely cold air mass quite at the depth yet. Here, DC 19, Philly maybe around 20, New York City in the lower 20s, teens. Boston, there's some precipitation still lingering in the teens and single digits once you go further to the north and east. You can see all that cold with these National Weather Service alerts and indices. West, it's quiet in the West. It's been quiet because all your action's out here in the east. Here's your lingering winter storm warnings and advisories for portions of New England and the Northeast. Go further south and east. Here's some winter weather advisories for the Carolinas and Virginia. This is because road conditions are so very treacherous and bad in these areas. And so that's the only reason they're out. No really any additional winter weather expected within the next few days. Though Thursday we could see a little clipper that could bring some flurries. These extreme dark blues represent extreme cold warnings. So that's where temperatures are extremely cold. These lighter blues are cold advisories, okay? Cold weather advisories. So still cold in these as well. We'll watch these to see if they expand further east later on when the high pressure continues to head east and brings the colder air as upper level trough, long wave trough swings through. And then in these kind of dark indigos, we have freeze warnings, okay? Portions of northern Florida, southern Georgia, even portions extreme southern Texas is where we have some freeze warnings. So that just shows how cold this air mass truly is, okay? Going to this weekend, okay? There's a lot of buzz with a potential system. And so we're going to kind of run through it. Some fresh 12Z afternoon data with the GFS. We have a kind of a split between the GFS and Euro. Euro a little more aggressive with a system, especially for ensembles. GFS not as much. We'll see how that trends, but all the ingredients are there. Matter of fact, before we look at the surface, let's kind of show what ingredients are there to cause that storm. We'll go to the Euro first, okay? Because the Euro actually shows the storm. So we'll go to the 500 millibar height anomaly. So here we are, okay? Here's your storm. This is 6Z. So yeah, here's your storm. This kind of goes through. This is your high pressure that's bringing that colder air that swings through, and you get your reinforcing shot. This is the true upper level low. So first, cold high, upper level low, long wave trough, meaning it extends all the way into the Atlantic. And so here's your little clipper system. Hard to see right there. Could bring some flurries. I don't think it'll be anything impactful. And then we watch. Okay, this is getting into the weekend. Let's kind of see what's going what good. First of all, you have this ridge. Okay, now ideally you'd want it spiking into Alaska. However, this still kind of has a north to south orientation. It's a little tilted, which you'd want it further north to south, but this still builds, and it's a tall ridge. Okay, it's a tall ridge, and sometimes at this angle it's good because you kind of get a little bit of a split flow. Southern jet is active right here too. You see how these this blue is extending into the Gulf. That shows your signs of an active southern stream jet. Okay, so you have your tall ridge here, southern stream here, 50-50 low, and some sort of little negative NAO, some intrusions, but you have blocking with these two. Atlantic Ridge way out here, so you have your blocking. So this will slow any storm that decides to come through, and then you just need a little shortwave to eject, North Stream to connect, and then boom, you get a storm. Except this time it'd be a Miller A, a coastal storm. This past weekend we had a Miller B, where you had a low that went into Appalachians, transferred off the coast. That's why we got mixing. So if we were to look at how the evolution, here it is, okay? Here it looks a little better, okay? 50-50 low again, slight low negative NAO. It's not the most favorable, but the 50-50 low does the job. Gulf of Alaska low, also we've been missing that. That's there. Here's your ridge, spiking a little more in Alaska, and it's north to south oriented. That's really good. That allows downstream amplification of the low pressure that comes out the southern stream. Here you have deepening pressures, and so you get a trough or a low pressure system to form, and eventually rise the coast. And you'll see that as we continue, you'll see a retrograded pivot off the coast. Like that is a deep low too. That is very deep low. I'll show you what the surface output is once we get past the GFS. So let's go back to ConUS. Here's what the GFS shows. Okay. This is just surface map. This is getting into the weekend. It has a low. It's close too. It's close. Look how deep it gets, by the way. 971. Previous run 973. It's a rapidly deepening low because it's still GFS still has that block. Everything I mentioned except timing is just off. Okay, you want this short wave. You want to see it slightly positively tilted. If we're going to 500 millibars, wait, I don't know. I think that's the right one, right? Yeah, right there. See that positive tilt? See how it kind of goes like this? You know what I mean? The axis is like this, okay? You'd want it neutrally tilted, okay, at this point, which is what the Euro has, okay? But it does eventually get neutral. It's just a little too late, and that's why it's so close. It is so close. Even if you were like this here at this point, like that instead of that you could get a storm with that. I mean, you have the storm. You will get a storm with this. It just doesn't go out to see a ride up, okay? And it is closer than the past few runs. I mean, if we're kind of comparing it does bring snow. There, it's a little closer, okay? A little bit closer. It's inching closer. So I'd say it's trending low towards the Euro. Okay, it's very close, okay? But just misses by a shot, okay? What about Euro? Okay, let's show the Euro output now. Okay, there's a little sneak peek already. So, okay, there's a sneak peek, nice. Here, okay. So 7 p.m. here's your departing system. Well, there's your long wave trough. Look how extensive it is, okay? Even up into Montana, you're going to get some freezing temperatures. And here it is, okay? Here it starts hooking up, okay? Building ridge in the west, spiking ridge. And here's your trough. You get some southern stream energy around that bend of the trough. And so if you go to 500 millibar heights, here, you go a little forward. There, look at that neutral tilt. We can try to compare it to the GFS. Here, let me go back. 500s. Oh my gosh, I'm toying everywhere. Sorry. So if we go back to about right here, okay, 132, 129. So we'll back this up to 120. Well, it's 3-hour increments, so we'll go to 132. This is almost negative, okay? This is practically negative right here. Axis is somewhat like that, okay? So it's negative. That means when you're negative, you can get a low to pop off. You get southwesterly flow, so picks this storm up the coast, okay? GFS, however, it's still neutral or positive, okay? Slightly positive. This is the only thing that's restricting it to being a big storm. I mean, look, you have the ridge, you have the blocking. So what this does instead is it kind of acts like, I'm trying to think of, baseball is a pretty good analogy, okay? This is, I don't know exactly how to kind of describe it, but what this does, it pushes everything out. If you weren't swinging the bat and you were just kind of a bunt, but your bat is facing downwards, this just pushes everything out to sea, okay? Just imagine this not lifting up at all. Just pushes everything out to sea, okay? With this, obviously your bat, it's coming up, okay? It's coming up at the angle. So if you're batting, you're swinging like that, everything wants to come up, okay? Like that. So you get your low, and it follows that flow, okay? And so this eventually comes up. If we're to continue, this eventually comes up. It's just too late. It's just too late. Here your low starts popping off over here. And at this point, it's well out to sea. Okay, you need this closer to like here. Okay, it's that close. It is pretty close. Here, your Euro pops it off. And there's your low. Usually it's not right here. It's usually like right here. But it's coming up like that. Okay, and you get your snows. Okay, so how does that look like on the surface? This is not a forecast, but it just shows the potential, the ceiling that this storm has. Here it comes. There's your kind of southern stream energy. North Stream kind of dives through, and boom, you get a low to pop off. It bombs out too. This is a bomb cyclone, 970s. Look at that. This only goes 144 hours out, but at this point, you have a big-time East Coast snowstorm from the Carolinas up through New England, okay, on this run. And it's been rather consistent. 18Z had something as well. OOZ. Look at OOZ. Just a complete big storm. Almost a coastal low redevelopment before it heads out. This would bring widespread 1 to 2 feet. Not saying this will happen. Again, ceiling. So, and it's not like it's on an island. There's multiple ensembles support. Okay, here's your Euro AI ensemble. So it shows AI's on board as well. Low right here. Almost perfect ideal track. Minimal mixing. Snow all the way down to the coast. And you just got a big storm over here, okay? AI ensembles and Euro ensembles both agree. CMC GFS has the signal, but it's weaker. So that's what I'm watching over the past few days. See if we can get agreement. And I'd say by Wednesday at the early, maybe tomorrow, but probably Wednesday to Thursday, we'll see a much better idea. See if we get agreement, and we'll get a clear idea of what would happen. That's about it for this video. Just want to go over the storm threat. Besides the storm threat, it's quiet and cold for the east, quiet and warm for the west. Hope you do enjoy. See you guys in the next one, and it's going to be an active weekend of tracking.